Hey, what's going on, guys? Coming at you with a brand new deck profile, and today I'll be showing you guys my Shaddoll train deck. So starting off with the standard train engine, we have the triple Night Express Knight, the triple heavy freight train Derricrane, and finally the triple Ruffian Railcar. So if you don't know what the trains do, with Night Express Knight, you can just normal summon it without tributing, and then its attack becomes 0. So just a free level 10 that you can normal summon on the board. Derricrane combos off really nicely with him because when you normal or special summon a level 10 Earth Machine monster, you can special summon Derricrane from the hand, and then his attack and defense become halved. And then if he's detached as an Exeat material, you get to destroy one card your opponent controls. So he's really nice fodder for your rank 10 plays that can help you to disrupt your opponent on their turn as well. Then with the Ruffian Railcar, it is a level 4 Earth Machine that came out a while ago in New Challengers. Didn't really do anything until we finally got the train support. So it does have, a very obscure effect that allows you to inflict 500 damage once per turn, and then you can't conduct your battle phase, but you rarely ever do that. Basically during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add one level 10 Earth Machine type monster from your deck to your hand, being of course either Derricrane or Night Express Knight. And then if you use Switchyard's effect to summon this from deck, you can make it a level 10, which is why it works out really nicely with the train engine. So that's it for the trains. For the Shaddolls, we have the 2 Beasts, the 1 Dragon, the 1 Hedgehog, and then finally the 1 Squamatta. I'm playing a really low Shaddoll engine because while the Shaddolls on their own are good, they can be dead draws. I was actually playtesting this deck yesterday at my locals. It was actually playing rather well because I was actually trying out a higher Shaddoll count with 2 Exodius and playing Allure of Darkness, but I just would have some clunky hands where I'd have too many Shaddolls and it didn't really work out too well. So I decided to cut down the engine. Beast obviously is the best one because it's basically like an Upstart Goblin. Then you have Dragon to pop spells and traps, Hedgehog to search out a Shaddoll, which can be good if you want to keep a Shekinah on board. Then Squamatta for sending a Shaddoll from deck to graveyard, which is usually going to be Beast. So just playing the best 5 to keep it a small Shaddoll engine. Then for the final monster, we have the 2 Maxx for obvious reasons. So that's it for monsters. Starting off with spells, we have the best card in the deck, the 3 Revolving Switchyard, and then we also have the 3 Terraforming to search it out. This may seem a bit excessive, but Revolving Switchyard is just such a key card to the deck. It actually unbricks so many hands with how good it is. Basically what it does is if a level 10 Earth Machine is no more special summoned, you can activate the effect, and then your opponent takes no damage for the rest of the turn. Then you can special summon a level 4 Earth Machine type monster with 1800 or more attack, which is Ruffian Railcar, from your deck, and then make it level 10. So this is especially good first turn where you're not able to attack anyway, and you can just bring Ruffian Railcar out from the deck and go into a rank 10. Keep in mind that it says battle damage, so you still can do effect damage with things like Skypalace and Gustav Max as well, which is pretty good. And then it has a secondary effect to where once per turn you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard to add a level 10 Earth Machine from your deck to your hand. Unfortunately, you can only do one of the 2 effects per turn and only once that turn. So you basically have to pick which one you want to do based on the certain situation. I usually do the one to add a level 10 machine, but if I'm in a desperate situation, the first effect is really good, especially going first. And as I said, the free Terraforming because we can search it out. Also, extra Terraformings can count as food for the Revolving Switchyard effect. Next we have the free Shaddoll Fusion, which is really good, especially if you can get Shekinah on board for free when your opponent controls an extra deck monster. And then Shekinah herself, if you didn't know, is a level 10 Earth Machine, so she just combos off really well with the deck. And then you get so much plus off of the Shaddoll engine, especially off of like Squamatta and Beast. For one of the spells, we have the 1 Foolish Burial. I usually use this to send Squamatta and then send Beast to draw a card just to thin out my deck more. You can also send Railcar if you need to add a train at the end phase. The 1 Soul Charge, just a really nutty card if you can pull it off. Just basically gives you another rank 10, possibly even 2 depending on how late in the game you are. But the purpose of this card is that you'll just make a really big board that your opponent can't get over. Then finally the 1 Upstart Goblin for some added draw power. Really the only thing I'd change about the spell lineup is I would add in 2 or 3 Pot of Desires if I own them. I would kind of tweak a couple cards here and there, but overall, I think the deck is as consistent as can be. While you can play Allure and you can up the count of dark monsters in the deck like I was yesterday, it just led to too many clunky hands. And a lot of the times when I drew off Allure, I didn't really draw anything good. So that's why I personally don't play the Allure. That's it for spells. For the traps, we have the Solemn Quartet and the free Solemn Strike and the 1 Solemn Warning. Just really, really good traps. Next we have the 2 Call the Haunted. This was really good yesterday. Especially good in combination with Switchyard, because if you Call the Haunted a train on your opponent's turn, it can trigger its effect to summon out Railcar from the deck. Especially good to do at end phase so that you don't have to waste a battle phase. So yeah, that's one of the good purposes for Call the Haunted. Just in general, can help you get into another like rank 10 play that you normally wouldn't have. And also, if you bring back Derricrane or Night Express Knight, they do come back with their original attack points at 2,800 or 3,000. So Call overall is just really good. Next, thanks to Jack Paul, we have 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance. Just a really, really stupid card right now. Just shuts down Pendulums. Pretty good in the Blue Eyes matchup, and it doesn't really hinder this deck too much at all. Then we have the 2 Rivalry of the Warlords. This deck is mainly focused on machines, so we can easily sit on, like say a Super Dora, and then have Rivalry on the board, and our opponent will just have a tough time getting over our board. The thing to keep in mind too is that your opponent can't Kaiju your 1 monster on board with Rivalry up, so it is a nice anti-Kaiju card, which is a pretty big weakness for the deck. Then for 1-0s, we have the 1 Skill Drain, and then finally the 1 Vanity's Emptiness. So that's it for the main deck. Total of 40 cards. It's 16 monsters, 12 spells, and 12 traps. Now on to the extra deck. So starting off for the Shaddoll monsters, we have the free Shekanaga and the 1 Winda. I was finding many games where I was actually going into 2 Shekanaga. None that I went into 3, but I could easily see how the 3rd one could come up. Plus, you have a lot of extra deck space to work with in this deck, so I figured, keep it at 3 to be safe. I have the 1 Winda in there just for those really odd situations where it comes up, especially in rogue matchups, but you don't necessarily have to play the Winda if you don't want to, because it barely ever comes up. So now for rank 10s. Starting off, we have the 2, what I call Super Dora the Explorer, because their name actually is Super Dora. 3,200 attack, 4,000 defense, just takes 2 level 10s. It's basically like a rank 10 Felgrand, to where once per turn you can detach 1 to target any monster on the field, including itself, and it's unaffected by card effects other than its own for the rest of the turn. So Dora is just really good at protecting itself, protecting one of your other monsters, and then it's just an easy way to get off your Derricrane effect to pop a card in your opponent's turn as well. And that 4,000 booty is nothing to be messed with either. Next, we have the 2 Gustav Max. This is just really good, especially if you're pushing for game, because on its own, it's upwards of 5,000 damage. Because of the 2,000 burn damage you get off its effect, plus being 3,000 attack. So, Gustav Max overall is really good. Haven't gone to the 2nd yet, but I find it could be useful in some situations, especially if you're in time, like in game 2 or 3. So that's why I played 2. Next, we have the 1 Skypalace. Another one that takes 2 level 10s. Basically, once per turn, you can detach 1, destroy 1 card your opponent controls, and inflict 1,000 damage, and then Skypalace can't attack that turn. Pretty good in combination with Derricrane, to where you pop 2 cards and burn for 1,000. And it's also 3,400 attack, so it's a bit bigger than Gustav Max. Next, we have the 1 Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer. This one requires 3 level 10 monsters, but it's basically a Harpy's Feather Duster that your opponent can't respond to. Just detach 1 once per turn to destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls, and then they cannot activate spells and trap cards in response, which is just really insane. Also, it's a huge 5,000 attack. It doesn't come up too often, but against those like Pendulum decks or against like those really backer heavy decks, it can be really good. Next, for the Spider Engine, we have the 2 number 35 Ravenous Tarantula, the 1 number 84 Pain Gainer, and finally the 2 number 77 Seven Sins. So starting off with the Tarantula, he takes 2 level 10 monsters, and then all monsters you control gain attack and defense equal to the difference in your and your opponent's life points. So it doesn't matter if you're up on life points or your opponent's up on life points. If there's a difference, all your monsters gain attack and defense equal to it. It starts off at 0-0, so it'll gain the attack equal to the difference in life points. Then it has like a kind of a relevant effect to where each time your opponent spell summons a monster, it inflicts 600 damage to them, but you're usually not keeping this on board too long. And then its really good effect is once per turn you can detach one Xyz material, destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card. So if you and your opponent have a huge difference in life points, you can just summon this, Raigeki their whole board, and then just go off from there. So that's why having this Tarantula is just really, really good. Then the one Pain Gainer normally takes 2 level 11s, but you can overlay on top of a rank 9 or rank 10 Dark Monster to go into him. And then he gains defense equal to the total ranks of all monsters, all Xyz monsters on the field. So if he's just out there on his own as an Xyz monster, he's 2200 defense because he's rank 11. And then, let's see, he inflicts 600 damage each time a spell and trap is activated, which again isn't too relevant. But his effect kind of works similar to Tarantula, but for defense, to where once per turn you can detach one and then destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls, whose defense is equal to or less than this card's defense, which is really good for monsters like, say, Chaos Maxx Dragon, or like Dark Matter Dragon, who has really high attack but really, really low defense. So Pain Gainer is pretty good for getting rid of those low defense monsters, or can sometimes be really high in defense if you have a good bit of Xyz on the board. Then the best one is 7 Sins, 4000 attack. It only takes 2 level 12s, but you can overlay on top of a rank 10 or a rank 11 Dark Monster. The only downside to that is if you summon it that way, you can't use the banishing effect that turn. But the main thing is that each time it would be the show by battle or a card effect, you can detach one of these material instead, so just an indestructible 4000 body on board. And then the turn after it's summoned, on your turn, you can activate the effect to detach 2 Xyz materials to banish all special summon monsters your opponent controls, and then take one of those banished monsters as Xyz materials. So if you can pull that off, that is really, really powerful. I haven't had that come up yet, but just in general, 7 Sins is just a huge 4000 attack monster that can be hard for a lot of decks to get over. So that's it for the extra deck. Now to wrap it up with the side deck. Starting this off, we have the 2 Flying Sea for the Burning Abyss matchup, also for any like Xyz reliant matchup in general. I actually think it'll be pretty good against ABCs when they come out. The 2 Gamaciel for getting rid of annoying monsters like Cyber Dragon and Vanity, for example, also will be really useful for trying to get rid of Herald of Perfection in that matchup, because this deck, like most decks, has a pretty bad matchup against Herald going second. Then we have the 1 Stardust Dragon, because I am playing these 2 Starlight Road in the side. Starlight Road just in general is really good for stopping Twin Twisters, and then bringing out a Stardust Dragon to be able to stop other destruction effects. Then we have the free Twin Twister if we need to get over back row. We don't mind discarding too much in this deck, especially if we can discard like Ruffian Railcar. The 1 Dark Hole and 1 Raigeki just for some more board clearance going second. The triple Imperial Iron Wall for Cosmos for people that are still playing that deck. There are some Ritual Beast decks floating around as well. ABCs, when they come out, will be a pretty big banishing deck. So Imperial Iron Wall, I think, is pretty good still. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, we had the 2 Starlight Road. So that's it for this brand new deck profile for my Shaddoll Train, aka Train Dolls. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.